What's up, my dudes? All right, we got to come in here and talk about this drama in Supercross. So, just letting you know, got me a little, whip me up a little Atlantona style custom track here on Supercross 4. So, we got a little bit of, track content to ride on while I'm talking about this. But, McDaddy Fatty Jump. So, the whole Cameron McAdoo absolutely wadding his shit at the second Atlanta Supercross race in 2021. If you don't really know what happened in this situation, which most of you guys at this point probably should know what happened, oh my God, about wrecked my suspension right there, boys. So there's been a lot of talk about this whole situation, so I just had to come in here and make a video on it. I want to go in here and kind of give my opinion on this, and the Spency boy, I ain't gonna hold nothing back, right? So first of all, I just have to say, hats off to Cameron McAdoo. That was crazy. One of the most heroic, performances I've seen in a while. For him to be able to get back on that bike, it was for the championship. He knew if he didn't line up, he wasn't going to win the championship. There was no chance at all for him to, win the champ. It was basically him losing the championship for him to not line back up. So I just want to get that out there that I don't blame Cameron McAdoo at all. I would have done the exact same thing. I would have done anything I could have to try to race in that race, right? And it was one of the most historic, awesome, badass comeback races. And just to let you know, he comes back and damn near pulls the whole shot. Like no front number plate, bike jacked up, damn near pulls the whole shot. And I think he ends up getting a third. He was running second for a long time, ends up getting a third. So he's like still in the points chase now after one of the gnarliest wrecks, any of us have ever seen and he's probably ever had. Comes back, gets a third, keeps himself in the points chase, right? So I just want to get that out of the way. I don't blame Cameron McAdoo at all for trying to race. I would have done the exact same thing, okay? I'm not blaming the guy at all. Obviously, you do anything you can when the championship's on the line. But one thing I do want to say here is I think AMA fucked up real bad. That their credibility basically just went out the window right here. Okay, so let me explain this situation. And of course, everybody's, acting like, Justin Cooper's a whiny baby and, whatever, he can't accept, whatever. I'm not taking anything away from Cameron McAdoo. Okay, what he did was amazing. I'm not even questioning that at all. But there is no way in hell that you can logically explain to me that was fair what happened in that situation as far as Cameron McAdoo being the one that wrecked so hard to cause the red flag, to cause the restart, right? If it wasn't for Cameron McAdoo crashing that hard and, crashing so hard that they were to the point to where they felt like we can't move this guy, so we have to restart this race, right? And then for him to be able to go in there and then line up and restart in the restart of the race, there is no way in hell that you will ever be able to logically explain to me that was the right decision by AMA to let him do that, or the fair decision or whatever. There's just no way. There's just no way that you can, actually explain that in a way to where it would make sense to me, because it's not fair at all. Like, he's the one that caused the red flag. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of explaining that needs to be done here, but I think what's happening is people are getting caught up in how heroic, Cameron McAdoo's ride was, that they're kind of just like forgetting about how bullshit that really was to let him go back in there and race after him being the one that caused the red flag. There's just no question about it. Man, I made that jump really big right there. But there's just no question about it. You got to understand, man. Like, when you go down, okay, let me just explain to you if they wouldn't have thrown up the red flag for Cameron McAdoo. He would have racked his shit, been laying there, and Justin Cooper out front, everybody would have got like 5 or 6 laps ahead. So he would have technically been lapped probably 4 or 5 times before he ever could have even thought about getting on the bike. So had they not called that red flag, Cameron McAdoo wouldn't even have been able to get back on the bike and continue the race at all. So he would have lost all those points, 26 whatever points to Justin Cooper, and that's what would have happened had they not called the red flag. So let's just think for a second. The only reason they threw out the red flag and did the restart to the race was because of Cameron McAdoo's crash. And if they wouldn't have done that, he wouldn't have even been able to finish the race at all. Period. He probably wouldn't even have been able to get back on the bike. So the fact that they threw out the red flag for Cameron McAdoo, that's what allowed him to get a breather, get back down on the line, make sure he was okay, fix a few things on the bike, make sure the bike was able to even, still go, and then take back off and get a third in the restart. I mean, if you don't see the problem with that, I don't really even know any other way to explain it to you, but you can't do that, AMA. You just can't, and this is the first time I feel like we've ever actually seen this happen. That's what I'm saying. 99.99% of the time they ever throw out a red flag and have to restart a race, finally going to get this triple. Damn. And then you got to hit that to be able to, that is a big jump. Oh my gosh. But, this is the first time we've ever seen somebody, had there not been a championship on the line, I can promise you, Cameron McAdoo, most people just wouldn't even try to go back out there. But that's the whole reason they even throw a red flag, is because the medical people think that you're hurt so bad, right, that you can't just move on your own power. And so they have to shut down the entire race. They have to shut down everybody else's race that took off and didn't have a mistake, didn't have any issues. They have to shut down their whole race and do a whole nother restart, which is putting them at a disadvantage already. And then to go in there and let the dude that caused the red flag come back in and race. That's the whole point of the red flag, was to just get the dude off the track safe, not get the dude off the track and then let him line right back up and basically have a video game level restart to the race, which would not have happened at all had they not thrown the red flag, right? It goes against the whole point of a red flag, is what I'm getting at here. It is one of the most unfair things I've ever seen, period. Again, I'm not trying to take anything away from how heroic and how amazing. I mean, it was amazing. Dude was riding off pure heart, pure wanting that championship, doing anything he could, and I commend him from that. I'm not blaming Cameron McAdoo. I would have done the exact same thing. I'm blaming AMA for allowing such a bizarre, they just docked Cameron McAdoo earlier this season for barely cutting the track. He cut one straightaway to get back on the track. I don't even know if he really gained an advantage. Anyways, they cut 3 or 4, positions off of that race. And then you go in here and Cameron McAdoo has such a bad wreck that causes a red flag, and then they let him restart along with everybody else that didn't have a mistake and were way out front. This kind of starts getting into that what a caution flag is in NASCAR. You got dudes that can get way ahead of everybody in the race, and then some bozo go out there and cause a caution, and then it lines everybody back up right together again, right? But the whole entire point of this situation is, when you are the one that causes the red flag, you should not be able to line back up on that line. Period. Absolutely period. Because you're gaining an advantage that would not have otherwise happened had they not thrown out the red flag. You see what I'm saying? And you're the one that caused the red flag. So it's like you're making this false destiny in a sense, For instance, had McAdoo somehow crashed where he didn't land on top of that over-under style jump, if he'd have wrecked and flipped off the side of the track where he wasn't in the way of the other riders and they didn't have to restart the race, he would have just been laying over there all hurt and shit, and Justin Cooper and everybody else would have got, at least 6-7 laps ahead of him, and there would have been no point in him even continuing the race, so he would have lost all those points. It's really? The luck of him crashing on an over-under section, landing in a certain area where they couldn't get him down safely, they thought. So they throw out the red flag and then let him go back and race. There is just there's no logical fairness to that at all. There's none. I hate to break it to some of you guys, and you can disagree with me till the sun goes down, till the sun comes up. I mean, you're just not going to be able to logically make any fair sense at all, because there is no logic to that. And I feel like sometimes what AMA does is they make these rules, they do these certain little things where it's going to make the championship more exciting. I've seen this happen since the first time I've been watching Supercross. Like, I swear to God, there's times where AMA will make certain rules and do certain things to where it will tighten that championship points up to a certain extent to where, you know, it makes the watching experience more exciting, because the last thing AMA wants is for somebody to just start running away with a certain, you know, super big amount of points. And even earlier, maybe they felt bad for docking McAdoo earlier this season when he was leading the points and he lost the points later on. Whatever, I don't know. But I'm just telling you from a straight up standpoint, that should never happen. You know, if you're the one that you are the sole reason that caused the red flag, the whole point of it is it's supposed to be bad enough of a wreck and you act hurt enough when they come up there to you to the fact where they don't feel like they can just walk you off of the track. Therefore, you should technically be so hurt that you shouldn't even be allowed to get back on the bike. That's kind of the whole point, you know what I'm saying? But even still, it's not just the fact that, oh, well, they shouldn't have let him get back out there because he just had a concussion or he just had a super bad wreck, so it's like unsafe to let him go back out there. Not only that, that's not even the main, that's like besides the point. The real point of the fact of, it's not fair to anybody else. For McAdoo to go there, have such a crazy crash that there's no way in hell he was going to be able to get back on that bike. And then to give him that 15, 20-minute time frame to go restart, regroup, get his body back together, get the bike back together, and then to start back over with everybody else. That's complete bullshit. I don't care who you are. That's complete bullshit. Like I said, I have all the respect in the world for Cameron McAdoo for getting back on that bike and finishing that race. He did everything he was supposed to do, and I can't blame him in the slightest. I'd have done the exact same thing, but that doesn't take away from the fact of that just ain't right, dude. It ain't right. That from AMA's point of view, that was not the right decision at all. So either way, it is what it is now. I do think that Justin Cooper and Star Yamaha did actually protest that, and rightly so. You know, Justin Cooper did bring that up on the podium, which I would have done so as well. I mean, this is a championship, basically, on this one decision that AMA made. Could have been the difference in the championship right there. You know, but it's just like, you can't do that, though. It'd have been one thing. Okay, let me just put it to you like this. If, let's say, like, some dude wrecks over here and has a super bad wreck, breaks his leg, and he's stuck on the track, right? And then McAdoo, like, flips his bike or, like, has another little wreck on some other part of the track, but he's not on the track at all. So then they throw the red flag for the other dude that's broke his leg on the track. Then that's all good. If McAdoo wants to get back up on the bike and start with everybody else, that's all good. You know what I'm saying? If you're not the one that caused the red flag, it's all good, bro. Like, you can get back up there if they throw out the red flag. But if you're the sole purpose of them throwing the red flag out and you're laying there on the ground for more than, 10, 20 minutes and can't move, then you just shouldn't be allowed to go back out there. And I that's just my opinion. And I'm going to stick to it because it's just bullshit. It's bullshit. Because otherwise, like, there's no way he would have finished that race. There's no way. So it's almost like his own mistake is what allowed him to be able to restart the race. They basically just was able to erase his mistake entirely. but it was all his own fault. Nobody else was involved at all in that crash. Nobody else was involved in the red flag, causing the red flag. It was all on him. So, I don't know. It starts getting kind of weird when you start thinking about, if they have some big pile up in the first corner or whatever, and they have to throw a red flag, and there's like 7 dudes down, but there's always going to be that one guy. If they ever throw a red flag, it's always because there's that one guy laying on the track in some peculiar situation where either they think he's broke his leg, they think he's broke a big bone, or whatever, to the point to where then they have to shut down everybody else's race because of that guy. So because of what that guy's fault on the ground is what caused them to have to shut down everybody else's race. So that dude has already put everybody else at a disadvantage by doing that. And then to then allow that guy to go back out there, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. I mean, you can get mad at me all you want for that opinion. I really don't care. I don't care. But that was my opinion from the very second I saw it. I was like, oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute now. You're going to go in here and restart this race and let the guy that was laying there for 10 minutes get back out there on the track. There's just something don't sit well with me about that. It's just like fairness goes out the window. Logic goes out the window when you allow somebody to do that. Like, straight up. There's no real doubt about it, man. There's really not.